Week 102. Cold War Economies. Global economic developments during the Cold War. The Cold War 19,471,991 was a period of intense geopolitical tension between the United States, U.S., and its allies, representing the capitalist Western Bloc, and the Soviet Union USSR, along with its satellite states, embodying the Communist Eastern Bloc. This rivalry profoundly influenced global economic developments, shaping policies, institutions, and economic relations worldwide. 1. Bipolar economic world order. The Cold War established a bipolar economic structure, with the U.S. and USSR promoting contrasting economic systems: capitalism and socialism. Each superpower sought to expand its economic model to gain political influence and demonstrate superiority. Capitalist economies emphasize private ownership, free markets, and consumer goods, while socialist economies focused on state ownership, centralized planning, and heavy industrialization. 2. Economic aid and reconstruction. One of the earliest economic initiatives was the so-called Marshall Plan. 19,481,952, which provided over $12 billion, equivalent to approximately $130 billion today, in economic assistance to Western European countries. This aid aimed to rebuild war-torn economies, prevent the spread of communism, and create markets for American goods. In contrast, the USSR established COMECON Council for Mutual Economic Assistance in 1949 to coordinate economic activities among Eastern Bloc countries, fostering economic interdependence within the communist sphere. 3. Arms race and economic strain. The Cold War was marked by a significant arms race, with both superpowers investing heavily in military technology and nuclear weapons. This competition diverted substantial resources from civilian sectors, leading to economic strain. In the U.S., defense spending spurred technological advancements, but also contributed to budget deficits. The USSR, despite achieving rapid industrial growth, struggled with economic inefficiencies and resource allocation, ultimately contributing to its economic decline. 4. Formation of international economic institutions. The Cold War era saw the strengthening of international economic institutions, aimed at stabilizing the global economy and preventing conflict. The International Monetary Fund (IMF) and the World Bank, established in 1944, played crucial roles in providing financial assistance and fostering economic cooperation among member states. The General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade (GATT), later succeeded by the World Trade Organization (WTO) in 1995, promoted international trade by reducing tariffs and eliminating trade barriers, predominantly benefiting capitalist economies. 5. Decolonization and economic impact. Post-World War II, decolonization led to the emergence of numerous newly independent states, many of which found themselves caught between the U.S. and USSR for economic and political support. These countries often received economic aid and investments from both blocs, leading to varied development paths. Some adopted capitalist frameworks with significant foreign investment, while others pursued socialist policies with static-controlled economies. The competition for influence in the Third World resulted in economic dependencies and sometimes unstable development trajectories. 6. Technological competition and economic growth. The Cold War spurred significant technological advancements as both superpowers sought to outpace each other. The space race, highlighted by events such as the Soviet launch of Sputnik 1957 and the U.S. Apollo moon landings 1969, not only demonstrated technological prowess but also stimulated investments in science, education, and innovation. These advancements had long-term economic benefits, fostering industries like aerospace, electronics, and computing. 7. Global trade and economic alliances. Economic alliances and trade blocs were influenced by Cold War dynamics. The U.S. promoted organizations like the Organization of American States (OAS), and later supported the creation of the North American Free Trade Agreement (NAFTA) to strengthen economic ties within the Western Hemisphere. Meanwhile, the Soviet Union sought to integrate Eastern Bloc economies through COMECON, ensuring that trade and economic policies aligned with socialist principles. These alliances reinforced the economic divisions of the Cold War. 8. Non-aligned movement and economic independence. The non-aligned movement (NAM), established in 1961, comprised countries that sought to remain independent from the U.S. and Soviet spheres of influence. Economically, NAM countries pursued diverse development strategies, often seeking aid from multiple sources, and advocating for economic policies that promoted sovereignty and reduced dependency on either superpower. This movement highlighted the complexities of global economic relations beyond the bipolar framework. 9. Economic decline and the end of the Cold War. By the 1980s, the economic disparities between the U.S. and USSR became stark. The U.S. experienced robust economic growth, technological innovation, and increased global trade, while the Soviet economy faced stagnation, inefficiency, and mounting debt. Attempts at economic reforms, such as Gorbachev's perestroika, aimed to introduce limited market mechanisms, but ultimately failed to revitalize the Soviet economy. The economic strain contributed to the dissolution of the USSR in 1991, marking the end of the Cold War and a shift towards a unipolar economic world dominated by the U.S. 10. Conclusion. The Cold War significantly shaped global economic developments through the promotion of divergent economic systems, massive arms spending, and the establishment of international economic institutions. The competition between capitalism and socialism drove technological innovation and influenced trade patterns, while decolonization and the non-aligned movement added layers of complexity to global economic relations. Ultimately, the economic disparities and inefficiencies of the Soviet system, contrasted with the adaptability and growth of capitalist economies, played a crucial role in the resolution of the Cold War and the emergence of a new global economic order. Understanding these developments provides valuable insights into how ideological rivalries can shape economic policies and global economic structures. The space race, arms race, and economic blocs. The Cold War era 19,471,991 was defined by intense rivalry between the United States, U.S., and the Soviet Union, USSR, manifesting in various domains such as space exploration, military capabilities, and the formation of distinct economic blocs. These competitions not only underscored the ideological divide between capitalism and socialism, but also significantly influenced global economic developments, technological advancements, and international relations. 1. Space race. The space race epitomized the technological and ideological competition between the U.S. and the USSR. Initiated in the late 1950s, it was a symbolic battleground where each superpower sought to demonstrate its scientific prowess and ideological superiority. Soviet achievements. Sputnik 1 in 1957. The USSR launched Sputnik 1, the first artificial satellite, shocking the world and igniting fears of Soviet technological dominance. Yuri Gagarin in 1961. Soviet cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin became the first human to orbit the Earth, further cementing Soviet achievements in space exploration. American response. In ASI formation, the U.S. established the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, NASA, in 1958 to coordinate its space efforts. Apollo program. In response to Soviet successes, the U.S. initiated the Apollo program, culminating in Apollo 11's moon landing in 1969 with Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin, a pivotal moment that showcased American technological and scientific capabilities. 2. Arms race. The arms race was a central aspect of the Cold War, characterized by the competition between the U.S. and the USSR to develop superior military capabilities, including nuclear arsenals. 3. Economic blocs. The Cold War era was marked by the formation of distinct economic blocs aligned with either the Östsold capitalist West or the Östsold socialist East. These blocs shaped global trade, economic policies, and international alliances. Conclusion. The space race, arms race, and the formation of economic blocs were pivotal elements of the Cold War that underscored the ideological and economic competition between the U.S. and the USSR. The space race not only propelled technological advancements but also served as a symbolic contest of supremacy. The arms race, driven by the pursuit of military dominance, imposed significant economic strains while fostering innovations with broader applications. Meanwhile, the establishment of distinct economic blocs reinforced the global division between capitalist and socialist economies, shaping international trade and economic policies. These developments had profound and lasting impacts on the global economy, technological progress, and international relations. The legacy of the Cold War's economic competition continues to influence contemporary economic structures, international alliances, and the strategic approaches of nations worldwide. Understanding these historical dynamics provides valuable insights into the complexities of global economic interactions and the enduring significance of ideological rivalries in shaping economic and political landscapes.